I read recently that the reason people love movies, they love stories, is so that they can feel their feelings and they can connect to the truth. They can feel the truth. They can have a glimpse of the truth. Because in our daily lives, we don't get that. So when you go to a movie, then you're able to connect in a way that's can't do every day.
Suitcase full of nothing from a nothing town.
You're listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. This is the podcast where I talk to successful women in entertainment and hear their stories. This episode is brought to you by the entertainment payroll company Extreme Reach. They're committed to becoming the most inclusive and diverse payroll company in the business, and I'm all about that. In fact, I've had 3 male executives at that company tell me how invested they are in promoting women and diversity and inclusion. I really think it's great. And also, they have the most comprehensive suite of tools and services to support all areas of media and content creation, from tax incentive support to accounting software and payroll services. And their software is looking pretty good. If you are making film and television, you should call them and tell them I sent you. Now for this episode, I sat down with Lisa Singer Haese. Lisa is an executive producer for Unscripted television, and her credits include Married at First Sight, I Used to Be Fat, MasterChef, Celebrity Rehab, and The Biggest Loser, just to name a few. And she is currently producing a documentary about her family called My Dad, Stephanie, and she will tell us all about it. You can find us at theother50%.com for added features, photos, show notes, merchandise. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast places. And if you haven't already, check out our other 2 podcasts, The Kiss My Age Show, which is where women of a certain vintage, grown-ups, talk about anything and everything and all the things that matter. And if you fall into that category, please join the Facebook group and join in the conversation. And also Exit 38. That is a show where 2 people who seem to be opposites from a political perspective discuss the issues of the day while trying to find common ground. All right, here's my conversation with Lisa. Have a listen. Tell me, what do you do?
It's hard to say. I do a lot of things.
Yeah, but you have a lot of big fancy titles.
So my titles have been executive producer, co-executive producer, supervising producer, story producer, writer, director, and actress.
Okay, so you've been mostly in unscripted TV.
Correct.
Tell me about how you got in the first place and then what that was like.
Oh, it's a really great story.
Oh, good.
I actually was working, I graduated from film school, and I ended up getting this amazing job as the text and verbiage manager for Harry Potter. So I ran a
What?
Yep. That's a whole other podcast. But I ran for 3 years. I was overseeing all the writing in the consumer products division of Harry Potter, all the writing that went out, and it had to be approved by J.K. Rowling herself. So
Wait, hold on.
yeah,
For the marketing?
in the marketing area.
For the merchandise?
For merchandise. But merchandise include video games.
Magic wands.
DVD
covers.
Correct.
Is J.K. Rowling your best friend now?
No. But but I do love her. And but we had to directly deal with her people. And I had to prove all the writing, and then we would send it directly to J.K. Rowling and her people. So
Oh, how comfortable. No stress at all.
no stress. It had to be very diplomatic. Very diplomatic position. So for some reason, I was actually really good at knowing what J.K. Rowling probably would approve and what she wouldn't.
Had you read all the books?
I had already read all the books.
You knew her voice?
I had her voice in my head. And so I was doing this job. You asked me how I got into reality TV, but
Yeah.
I was doing this job. I did like it a lot, but it wasn't my dream. My dream was to be in film and TV as a director and a writer.
Yeah, but for an in-between job to be at the epicenter of that.
It was amazing. It was
Yeah.
amazing. It was when the first couple movies came out. We got to go to, early screenings.
It's a pretty good first job.
Yeah, and video games. I mean, I saw all the video. I'm credited on the first 3 video games for writing. And I just had a knack for knowing, J.K. Rowling would like this character's name or would like this storyline, or she, I just kind of...
You're the J.K. Rowling whisperer.
Yeah, I kind of knew. I did. I was good at that part of the job. And so kind of towards the end, I was thinking, okay, I really wanted to get into, I was writing screenplays, I was auditioning and doing some acting, but it wasn't enough for me. And my sister, who I went to film school with, was already in reality TV. She was on some show called Making the Band.
Hold on. I can keep doing that to you. hold on.
Yeah, you can say hold on.
Is your sister, are you twins or are
No,
you just close in age?
Yeah, we're just in close in age. And
So you went to film school together?
I went to film school first in the production program, and then my sister came a year later and she went to the writing program, and we both were at USC in their film program together
How fun. Did you
Yeah.
grow up here?
in the Bay Area.
Okay, carry on. So she got into reality TV first.
She did.
And then she said, come on.
Yes. And I saw her having a lot of fun, and I thought, gosh, this seems like a part of the industry where I could excel. Like it was kind of just taking off. It was about 14 years ago. It had already been going for about 4 years.
Real World has been going on
Right.
for 30 years.
Right.
Then everyone
And-
else started to get in.
Correct. So
I remember making of the band.
So I kept trying to get a job in reality TV because I thought I could move up fast. I studied documentary filmmaking at school. I loved it, and I thought seems like
It's my jam.
yeah, I think I could do it, and I could have fun. It seemed fun, and that was what I wanted to do after kind of trying to write screenplays on my own and sort of hovering over. Well, I wouldn't say hovering. That's not the right word, but I was just kind of felt alone actually trying to write screenplays and act. It just felt very lonely.
This is not very collaborative.
Yeah. So my sister, I actually shadowed her on her job, and then she hired me. She got a job on a show called From Flab to Fab for VH1, and she hired me. And her boss said, okay, you can hire your sister, but just know that if she doesn't do a good job, you're going to be the one who's going to have to fire her.
Yeah, both of your careers are over.
Yeah, it's over, done. You're out of Hollywood, forget it. You're
So
gonna
what
move
was
back
her job on that, and then what was your job on that?
I was a story editor.
Okay.
And I think she was a story producer, but she was sort of overseeing some of the episodes. So
Can you explain the jobs on reality TV, because they're so different from scripted? Like, what do those jobs entail?
okay, so for a story editor and a story producer, they're similar in a way. They've evolved. So I'll tell you at the time and sort of where they've evolved to. But these particular positions were just post. We were given a lot of raw footage, and our job was to create a string out, take all that footage, decide what is the best footage, what would tell the story the best.
Like, figure out the story?
Correct. We'd figure out the story from all the footage, find the best moment. So we'd watch all the footage, and then we would, at the time, we would write it in a paper form. Like we would write it we'd have like what we call a paper string out.
Oh.
And you had DVDs, and you would put them into your computer, and you would watch them. Now...
This is hundreds of hours.
Right, but we got field notes. So
Okay.
the field notes, that's a great question. The field notes would help us to determine where we should look in the footage.
You had clues.
Correct.
And the field producers were probably kind of going for something.
Right.
Okay.
We knew what they were going for. We also kind of knew the ending, like this person won.
Okay.
So you might want to start out the episode with everybody thinking the other person was going to win, so you can...
Build suspense.
Yeah, and flip the story. And so you'd watch...
But it's all real people. It's reality TV.
Right, it's real people. So you watch all the footage, and then you do what's called a string out, which my sister had taught me before I even got this job. So I was already prepared, and I'd taken avid classes in school, so I kind of already knew
You know you're getting
knew some
into.
stuff, and I was really good at it right away. And you would once you would do your paper string out, you would give it to the editor. And the editor would put it together, and then you'd work with the editor to say, okay, this part's working, this part isn't. Mm-hmm. Then you'd have a story at the end. That's how pretty much the job was.
Okay, so it went well on that job. You didn't get fired?
And I did not get fired. Thank you. Thank you, Julie, for not firing me. And I was actually really good at it. And one thing that was nice about that first job was that VH1, we could use any of the music we wanted. So we had so much great music.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we just had the pick of the litter. And I think like every episode, one episode was like the Madonna episode. The next episode was, maybe a different
That's amazing.
music artist episode. So we got a lot of great music to work with,
Yeah.
editors. So I felt really confident. I felt really good and strong. And I felt like this is where I can do well. It was a real huge relief. Because even though like I did well at Harry Potter, it really wasn't my jam.
Yeah.
It was good and I did well, but it wasn't like I felt like I was in the flow.
But what a relief that the thing you thought you were going to be good at, you're actually good at.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, it was a relief. And my sister was, thank God for her, she was really great. She was told the person, she goes, I know Lisa's going to be fantastic at this. She always has tons of confidence in me as a storyteller and what I was going to do. So she was confident. So from there, I thought, well, how am I, because I left a full-time job to work freelance.
Yeah, scary.
Big, scary jump. So what was I going to do next? So I formed a story editor club where all the other story editors at this company, we all got together and we put our name on a list and we thought, okay, let's have a club and let's try to help each other get jobs, because how are we going to get more freelance jobs?
Smart.
So my sister's on the story editor list, I'm on the story editor list, and my sister and 2 other women on this story editor list get a call to go interview for The Biggest Loser. But I did not get a call to go interview for The Biggest Loser. So my sister goes and she gets the job. And I'll tell you, I was so jealous because that was my favorite show at the time.
Yeah.
The Biggest Loser. It was huge. And by the way, we had been doing, the show I did it for was called Flab to Fab. And that was a weight loss show. So I was...
So it was in your genre.
Right. And I was already watching Biggest Loser and stealing from them and saying, okay, this is how you guys, how you filmed the setup wrong. It needs to be set up more like this. Like, see how they're doing on The Biggest Loser and how the beats are set up and how the suspense is laid
that
out.
was just rude that they didn't hire you.
Yeah. So, well...
At
first. But then my sister, again, to the rescue. She was there and she started working the first week and she called me and she said, Lisa, this woman, Elaine Selleck, she's the co-executive producer and she just asked me if I knew of anybody else, any other story producers, and I gave her your name and they might be calling you. I was like, oh my God. And then Elaine called me.
And you're dying.
And I said, okay, Julie, any advice do you give me?
Is your sister named Julie?
Yeah.
Okay, I keep thinking you're talking to me.
Okay, sorry. Julie, my sister's Julie. And I said, Julie, any advice? She said, just be cool.
Yeah.
Like,
be
Elaine's
cool,
really mellow. Just be cool. And I'm really a spaz. So I had to be really cool.
No coffee for you that morning.
So I get a call to come at this time. This was season 2, and I drove up this big driveway, and I had to, beat me in.
Oh, yeah, because they're in a house way off
huge
somewhere.
In Calabasas or something,
Okay.
farther out,
Yeah.
Simi Valley. And this gate opens, and I drive up, and I go,
I've
Biggest
arrived at
Loser
Mecca.
Ranch. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I drive up, and then I park, and then there's like all these cameras. And I asked where the production, I was supposed to ask where the production office is. I walk up, there's the production office in the directing room, and and there's like 16 screens. There's, all this action. I'm like, oh my God, I am just freaking out because it's so cool.
Okay, I'm picturing right now that room on Unreal. Do you watch that show?
I saw the first episode. I saw the pilot of Unreal. I thought it was genius, but it also gave me
PTSD.
It ignited my PTSD. So
Well, there's that room set up where they're all sitting watching all the monitors with all the stories. That's what it sounds like.
yeah, so it's really called the story room. So I tried not to be overly excited, even though my
giggling
heart,
and jumping
I
up and down.
Really, I wanted to hug everybody. I wanted to say, "Oh my God, I love your show! I love your show! Thank you so much for having me here. If you hire me, I'll do the best job I possibly can.
Yeah, don't be
I'm
that
not
girl.
a
Don't be that
loser.
girl."
I'm not that little girl with braces and glasses and headgear and ponytails and no one liked me. I'm really cool." So I just walked in. I was like, "I'm cool."
Like, whatever, I could take this job or leave it.
Yeah, yeah. So I walked in and I just sat there and I said, "Oh, where's Elaine?" And they said, "That's Elaine." And I looked at her and she was so cool. She's younger than me. She was really, but not in the bad way cool. Like she's
Not
wearing
mean girl
sneakers.
cool.
No, not mean girl. She was wearing sneakers and a t-shirt and she was beautiful. And like, wow, that's Elaine. Just fast forward, Elaine and I have become good friends. But at the time, I was just thinking, okay, I'm going to be cool. So I sat there and had to wait a while. And I watched the whole thing. I took it all in. There's the story area where the story monitors, where all the story people are taking notes and watching what's happening. And then there's the director's area where the director's watching all this screens. So it was a really huge, big setup.
Yeah.
And I had already seen big setups like that from shadowing from film school. I had gone to different sets and had a lot of exposure, but this was pretty extraordinary. There's a lot going on. So eventually she said she could talk to me, and she just said, what do you think you are, more of a story editor or a story producer? And my sister had coached me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what were they looking for?
Yeah, and she
that's
said
what you are.
Because she said you were more of a story producer on Flab to Fab because you were in charge of an episode.
Okay.
So you can tell her that. You can tell her I was in charge of this episode. So I think I'm more of a story producer than a story editor. Because a story editor you were paired up as a story producer and a story editor, so you were paired up. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to be the lead.
You're the boss.
Yeah, I wanted to be the lead boss of my episode. So anyway, so I said, oh yeah, I think, but it wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm more of a story. I was like, well, I was kind of the lead of this. So I think I'm pretty much more of a story producer. I was like trying to be really mellow.
I've done the job.
Yeah, I was like really mellow. And she's like, okay, cool. All right, well, what's your availability? She looked at something like, oh, what's your availability here and here? And I said, oh, yeah, it looks like I'm pretty free here. And then I left, and she says, okay, well, I'll have our line producer call you. Oh, God, what does that mean? Line producer's going to call me. So
it means you're going to sit with your phone in your hand
for 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, it took a long time. And then I finally got the call, and Julie couldn't ask her. She couldn't go up and say, hey.
Has she told her you were her sister?
Right, she knew.
Okay.
Elaine knew. But then I got a call and said, are you available for this episode? And I said, oh, well, let me check my schedule.
Yeah, let me check, yes.
Yeah. What does it pay? Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. It's twice as much as I was making at Harry Potter. I mean,
you
per
weren't
week.
Thinking, let me negotiate this.
Yeah. No, I did not. No, there was no negotiating. It was just, yes.
Put me in, coach.
Yeah. And that was thrilling. And then that was the company that I felt really good about it. I felt like I could do that job. And
how many episodes did you do of that?
Well, I was hired to do one episode, and then they liked me and they hired me for the finale. So I did the finale, and then that company hired me for another show. I think I was hired for Beauty and the Geek next, and then I went back to Biggest Loser, and I stayed with that company, 3 Ball Production, for off and on for 6-7 years. So they kept promoting.
Okay, so you are in the career now.
Yeah. It was very exciting. And, J.D. Roth, who was the head of the company, and Todd Nelson, they were really good to me. I mean, they kept promoting me. They hired me for every job they had. I was always on their radar. And I think they were very good to women.
Great.
They were
Let the record
Elaine,
show.
Elaine became the EP of that show. She was continually hired by them. They did a lot of promotion of women at that company. So
what was your title by the time you were done with them?
Well, JD kept trying to get me a job as a co-executive producer, but that has to be approved by the network, and I hadn't gotten a co-executive producer title yet. So I got an agent, and the agent helped me get a co-executive producer job in New York. I had to go to New York. I had to live as a local, and I rented an apartment there.
This is all non-union, I take it?
Yeah, everything's non-union in reality TV. Yeah. So most of it is. And so I did that. And that's a company called Stick Figure Productions, and they were really great. And that was a show for TLC. It was a pilot called Trading Up. And I did that. And so then I was able to come back. And when I came back, I ended up doing I got another job with 3 Ball. I don't remember all the details, but I eventually was like a co-EP for 2 shows at the same time. One of them was I Used to Be Fat, and the other one was The Revolution.
What was that about?
That was a daytime talk show. Both were weight loss shows. Oh. So I because 3 Ball had...
You have a niche now.
Yes, I have created this niche. I have a lot of experience in weight loss shows.
So then as a co-executive producer, you're now a showrunner, which means you're overseeing all the episodes?
Well, no, I didn't do that for Biggest Loser, but for other shows. Like I Used to Be Fat, yes. I was overseeing all the episodes. For The Revolution, I wasn't the showrunner. That was a talk show that was filmed in New York. We were following women's weight loss journeys, and we would document them through what they call packages, which are mini stories, like maybe a 2-minute, 3-minute story about their journey.
Like how we get to know that character.
Correct. Yeah. But it was really amazing because I think I've done every kind of weight loss show. I've done the talk show weight loss. I've done the docu-series weight loss. I've done the big competition weight loss show.
Have you done My 600-Pound Life?
No, but my husband, who's a sound supervisor, did a show similar to that in North Carolina.
Yeah, that's brutal. My kids won't let me watch it anymore.
Yeah.
I get all upset.
Yeah.
So, are you still doing this?
I have done a lot of different shows, and the last job that I did was as a creative executive for a company called 44 Blue Productions. So my goal is to transition and expand from telling other people's stories to telling my own.
Oh, I want to hear all about this.
So I am transitioning from and expanding from telling other people's stories to telling my own. That was always my goal when I came down here. But I'm thrilled that, I've had 14 years of working in unscripted and telling other people's stories and just picking up a camera and saying, tell me your truth. I would tell you that my mother was a therapist, and that the interest in psychology, the interest in people's stories, the interest in people's emotions and truth, and being able to talk to people on a heart-to-heart, and also to really be interested. I'm really interested in people.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, why
that's the ticket.
Yeah, that's why I think I did well or have done well when I have the opportunity to be really telling the truth about people's stories. And so reality TV, they always say, oh, how do you get people to cry? You want to make someone cry? And I'm like, I don't want to make somebody cry, but I want them to express what's on the inside and let it come out. And if there's tears there, then let's explore what those tears are about. It's not, let's make them cry for TV ratings. That's actually not good TV either.
No, but if they tell their truth and they feel seen and it's moving.
And heard. Yeah, and heard.
Yeah, what is better?
Yeah. So I think people feel comfortable. That's kind of one of my superpowers, is that people feel comfortable around me.
Yeah.
And can brag a little. I guess that's probably what I'm supposed to do here.
Bring it.
And also women. Brag, women. Let's not keep it down.
I'm okay. I had a little help. I just.
And sometimes I'm really good at that thing, and I was like, I'm sorry. No, say it. So, what are your superpowers? What are you good at? And so, one of the things we have to do is we have to pick up a camera. We have to have people tell us their stories. One of the nice things in reality TV the budgets have gotten very tight. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we've been asked to do as producers, even executive producers, we pick up a camera, we have to just do run and gun kind of shooting. And so that's given me a lot of practice in sort of getting stories out quicker and really
let's get to it.
Yeah, let's get to the real stories. So transitioning from telling other people's stories to telling my own. And I always thought I wanted to do fiction, but something happened in my life where I was forced, but it really made me realize it's time for me I have to tell this particular story. Mm-hmm. And so I started picking up a camera and I started filming. And while I was filming it, I realized, I think I'm supposed to be telling more stories more nonfiction stories about my life and my experiences right now. Maybe not in the future, but right now.
What are you doing now?
I am currently working on a personal nonfiction narrative documentary.
That is so exciting. What can you tell me about it?
I can tell you everything.
Don't leave anything out.
4.5 years ago, my dad, big, handsome guy, 6'1", literally like Sean Connery, Tom Selleck,
big,
ladies' man,
dude.
yeah, says he needs to tell me and my sister something. And he tells us he needs 3 hours to tell us. And so we fly up to the Bay Area. He says he's transgender.
Wow.
How
old is he?
He's 71 at the time, and
Was he still married to your mom?
My parents were divorced when I was in high school. My dad's had many love affairs. He was quite a ladies' man. He was not faithful to my mom. He was not faithful to any of his wives. And after my mom, he married twice. So he had the history of having a lot of women in his life. So he told us he was transgender. This is before Caitlyn Jenner came out. This is before kind of the big,
this before
transparent.
It was,
yeah,
we all talk about it all the time.
This is like literally 6 months before.
Yeah.
So I just picked up a camera. I picked up my iPhone, actually. I started asking my dad a million questions.
In that first conversation?
Well, it was literally like the next day.
Yeah.
Because the first
we're
conversation...
going to have to get a record of this.
Right, yeah. So my sister was hysterical, crying. We had a million questions. And so I started filming with an iPhone. And then my husband and I decided that we were going to go out and meet his feminine female self. Mm-hmm. So
How much of the transition had he started or gone through before? Nothing. He said, I'm going to start doing this?
Well, my dad, ever since my dad was a little boy, he thought he was different. He thought he was a woman. He liked to dress up in my grandmother's slips. And he didn't know, am I gay? He didn't know what it was at all. And he'd been through therapy, but what he explained to me and Julie said, I'm not a cross-dresser. He said, a cross-dresser is somebody who does it for fun. They do it for sexual, maybe sexual pleasure, people being entertained by him, kind of like a...
Like drag.
Yeah, just to get attention, for sexual attention. And he said, no, when I dress as a woman, I feel more myself and I feel more comfortable.
Then you relax.
I feel relaxed, yeah. So we had a lot of conversations about what the difference was and just why he felt different. So I started filming, and then my husband and I went and I said I wanted to meet my dad as Stephanie, this woman. So.
And how much time had transpired between the two?
Not very long, yeah.
So did she start...
Nothing. I said, okay, so I am a reality TV producer, so I am like, do not shave off your beard or your mustache.
I'm going to be there
every
step of this
there is nothing. You do not, nothing. Nothing. I'm going to be documenting it all. So,
now I don't know what pronoun to use.
Yeah, she.
She was then she open to, sure, you can film this whole thing?
Yes, because my dad is a diva and likes a lot of attention.
Well, that was lucky. Okay.
Yeah. No, she was all for it. Very excited.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, while we were filming, she wasn't excited. I mean, it was still
so flippant personal.
So personal. And my favorite kinds of stories are intimate, personal stories. The one thing I was taught at USC was that tell your story, tell your personal story. And those are the kinds of stories that I like so much. I like to watch them. And, when something happens, I always say, when something happens, tell your story. It's more interesting.
And the more specific it is, the more relatable it is in a weird way.
Definitely.
So you go up to meet Stephanie.
So I go up to meet Stephanie, and my husband comes with me. We buy a camera, quick, and I interview my dad. We go for a walk. I interview the time. I'm going to say him because this was my dad at the time. It was him.
And what was his name?
Phil.
Phil. Okay.
So I interview Phil, and we go for a walk, and then we slowly go, okay, so you're going to meet Stephanie. So there's lots of discussion in our family. Well, should I wait to meet Stephanie, or I'm going to watch you put Stephanie on? Like, what's going to happen? Like, how are we going to make this
going to go?
How's this going to go? So there's a lot of producer talk about, well, what are we going to do? So Harry says, no, you have to wait. Stephanie gets ready, then you come out, and then there's a reveal.
It's after the commercial break.
Okay, yeah, that's the way I want to do it. And then my dad says, yeah, that's the way. And then I said, but no, I want to see what you're doing. Stephanie says, oh, that's going to be really hard. I said, okay, well, then that's probably what I should do. So my dad proceeds to show me her undergarments, starts putting the makeup counter out. She had held off on all of this.
She had it all ready.
She had it ready, but she hadn't set it up.
So was this could have been the first time?
No, but this was the first time in maybe 5 years.
But the first time anyone's going to see her?
Anyone that she knew, really, yeah.
Okay.
It was me. That's a good question. Yeah. She had already broken the news to her wife when my dad Phil had told his wife that he was transgender, or wasn't transgender. He said, I have this thing. I think I want to be a woman. I'm not sure, but it's over now. I'm not doing it. But it's over now. Like, no. And then
for 70 years.
And let's just get married. So this woman who was a therapist said, okay, but I have this zero tolerance policy. You cannot, you're my husband, you're a man. You cannot dress like as a woman or anything. And my dad agreed to this and then said to me, 6 months later, it's like, oh,
that's not going to work.
That's not going to work. I can't, yeah.
70 years is a long time.
70, yes, a long time. So their relationship, which is probably another conversation, but their relationship came to a boil, heated, I want to be Stephanie on the weekends. Let me do it at least on the weekends. And she said no.
She was pretty clear how she felt about
it.
Yeah,
she was clear. And so they split up. My dad moved out. So now my dad hasn't done the full makeup. Maybe has tried on some clothes, but hasn't done the full, I'm going out and being in the outside world as Stephanie. And so in her new apartment, she had her wig and she had all her makeup and everything hidden away so that for the first time she would become Stephanie in front of me. And so she took out her wig, she took out the undergarments, she didn't get rid of Phil's clothes, she didn't do any of that until we got there. So she filmed with me observing and watching and asking questions the whole time.
Okay.
As a daughter.
Yeah. How was that for you? Because on the one hand, you have this filter of being behind a camera, so you can have a little bit of detachment from it, but you're still watching your dad become a woman. Like, what?
Okay, so my husband's filming, so I didn't have to worry about filming.
Good.
And I am somebody who in some ways I push down my feelings until they can no longer be pushed down anymore.
Are you processing even yet?
I thought I was. I was like, okay, this is great, good for you. We're happening. I'm from the Bay Area.
There's
it's all
no moment
great.
of mourning or anything. We're just
going to barrel through. And then my dad put it on an eyelash, and I completely lost it. And my husband's watching too, and he's lost it because something changed.
Something happened
when my dad put on the eyelash, and because of course I have footage of this now. It's like I'm in utter shock. I'm angry. I'm crying. I'm processing.
It just got real.
Yeah, it got real really fast. And before it was jokey, light.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Just play dress up.
And no. And when I looked at the footage because now I'm editing. I'm in the editing phase of this.
And did
project.
your husband turn the camera on you at that moment at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was actually kind of on both of us. It's a good shot, both of us. Actually, I started crying and my husband's filming my dad. Like, he's not having the camera on me. My husband, like, maybe you should turn around because there's something happening.
There's something happening here.
Yeah, and I know I'm a director.
You're
so I'm like,
producing
yeah,
and you're losing it.
Yeah, that's the director and the actress in me. Like, okay, well, I am really having a moment. So, because he couldn't see me, his back was to me. So
Yeah.
and when I look back on the footage, for a long time, I was like, what is that? What is that crying? And then finally it hit me like it's been over 4.5 years, and it took me a long time to figure out what it is. And so now I know I can actually edit this. It's grief. Mm-hmm. It was grief because it was like my dad was dying. At that moment when the eyelash came on, it was like...
Your dad disappeared.
The dad I know just... And, it is still emotional. I used to be able to not talk about it without crying. I'll see if I can do that. But then as Stephanie emerged... Then there was like this crying that was like pure joy. Like, oh, wow, this is a new family member. So it was a death and a rebirth.
Yeah. And was it like, oh, that's who you are?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. And it was amazing. It was one of the most beautiful moments of my life because I got to see not just my dad, but another human being become who they truly, authentically are. And I don't think many people really get to see that. I read recently that the reason people love movies, they love stories, is so that they can feel their feelings and they can connect to the truth. They can feel the truth. They can have a glimpse of the truth. Mm-hmm. Because in our daily lives, we don't get that. Mm-hmm. So when you go to a movie, then you're able to connect in a way that's can't do every day.
And you don't even know you're missing half the time.
Right, of course, you don't. But that's how our souls heal. That's how we feel whole. We feel whole by experiencing truth. And if we're not going to be experiencing our truth of ourselves, at least to have that, to witness another situation, another moment, whether it's in a story or a movie or a radio show or whatever, and you feel truth and you feel you feel better, you feel healed, and you feel whole.
This is why it's so important, and this is why it changes the world.
Right. And that is why women are really good storytellers, and their stories are so important because women have a particular gift in telling emotion and sharing emotion. And that's all what stories are. It's like all about emotion and getting to truth and getting to feeling our feelings. Not saying that men aren't good at that, but
But how many superhero movies do we have?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. How many do we need?
About 100 less than we have.
Right.
In my opinion. But I'm sure other people have a different opinion about that.
Right.
But yeah, can we get to the truth and real stories about real people?
Yeah, I don't understand. But that doesn't mean there's not emotion and truth in those. I mean, I know there's mythical themes that do play out in some of those movies, but...
Well, I think it's an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
I think there is feeling. It's not, I don't think, the same necessarily, like, empathetic feeling that you and I are talking about, but I remember being dragged to Die Hard was my first action movie. And I was like, I'm not going to this stupid thing. And then I sat there in the theater just screaming. And I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I get why this is so exciting.
Right.
But I think it's a completely different emotion.
Right. And that's not what I do. I mean, I don't know how to do that. So I don't know how to write that or do that. But that's why I think it's particularly feminine to tell the character-driven, emotional stories with feeling. And I was excited to hear that explanation because it felt like it gave what I'm doing with this particular documentary and what I'm transitioning to purpose. Mm-hmm. And everybody wants purpose. Everybody wants a purpose and to feel like they're contributing or they have something to offer or that they're special, And I think for the last 14 years I've been practicing a craft, and now I'm looking forward to kind of hoping that I can apply that craft I've achieved some sort of mastery to and apply that to telling nonfiction stories, maybe even some fiction stories, maybe a little half and half, in a particularly female way, I think. And look, my dad's story is a female story.
Yes. So is this going to be one long documentary film, or is this a docu-series?
Right now, it is a documentary. And I just finished prepping for post, and I am headed into the editing phase. I have to raise money for an editor, or I have to pay for it myself. Mm-hmm.
How is Stephanie now? Is she fully
She's
transitioned?
great. Yes, she has had both surgeries, upper and lower. And she's
For the record, not that that's any of our business.
Oh yeah, that's true. That is true. Oh, I think it's going to be part of the documentary, and I think it's fine because it doesn't mean you're less of a woman if you're transgender if you haven't had the surgeries. It's just right for her, you know. And or she was right. She really wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So the night my dad told me, he was very supportive, and then I went home and I woke up in the middle of the night. And I asked myself, I checked in with Lisa and said, are you okay with this? Because you're like from the Bay Area and you should be okay with it and that, you know, you're
How
liberal.
liberal are you,
Yeah, yeah.
Lisa?
And then I said, am I really okay with this? Because just you and Lisa right now having this conversation, or are you, you know, not? And that's okay if you're not. I just said, I'm okay. I'm like, I just love my dad's soul. Like, I really don't care what the packages comes in. And maybe that's because, you know, my mom passed away. At the time, it was like 5 or 6 years earlier. And, you know, when you go through a parent's death, like, I don't care. As long as you're happy,
Yeah.
I'm happy. Just as long as you're happy and this is going to make you happy, that's great. And it's very clear that she's a woman.
Yeah.
Like, there's no question that my dad, even though the physicality is completely masculine, is a woman inside. There's just no question. And there were so many studies done for children and even adults that they process things the way women process things. If you're a transgender or man or
It's in the brain,
transgender, yeah, it's all there. So, but I didn't even know that information before. I just was like, no, of course.
So once you tried it on, there was no going back.
The eyelash, or just
The feminine persona.
oh yeah. But she did try to say, oh, I don't know, maybe I'll just do it a couple times a week, or I don't know if I'm going to have the surgery. It's like, this is all a lie.
Yeah.
And you can tell this lie as long as you want, but
I
know you're going to have the surgery, and I know you're going to live full time as a woman. Like, I know you, but I think what she was trying to do was try to ease us into it, and try to protect us. And it was a lot more shocking for my sister. She had much harder time processing, but I think she's doing a lot better now. But I had already felt like there was something up with my dad, but I didn't know what it was. I would never have guessed this in a million years. But
You're like, something's off. I can't put my finger on it.
Yep. I just thought maybe she was sex crazed with all the affairs, or, you know, I didn't know. There's a lot of lying. There's a lot of lying going on. I don't know why you need to lie about that, you know.
Interesting. And you still talk about her, that it's your dad?
Right now, I still say my dad, Stephanie, my dad. But most of the time I say Stephanie. Like, I'll call Stephanie. I'll say, hey, Stephanie. But when I'm talking about her to other people, I do sometimes say my dad, Stephanie, just so they know in context. She's not my mom.
Right.
And I feel like saying my parent is really weird.
It's weird.
I'm a grown woman. This is my parent. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. So right now I just say Stephanie, but every now and then I'll say my dad, Stephanie. And was the working title for the documentary for a while. My dad,
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
Oh, that's a great title.
Yeah.
It's what did Creator Transparent?
Oh, Jill Soloway.
Yes. Mappa.
Right. We have Poppy, or Popsy Stephanie. Poppy Stephanie.
I love my dad, Steph.
Yeah.
That says everything.
Yeah.
Okay, back to women in this industry. Did you feel any obstacle as you were coming up because you were a woman?
I felt a lot of obstacles, but I didn't feel like it had anything to do with me being a woman except for the last 5 or 6 years. And I just worked for some companies where there were some heads of companies that were men. They owned the company. And I couldn't really decide if it was because I was a woman or because they were just really arrogant. And, you know,
It's hard to put your finger on it.
It was hard to put my finger on it. I think that's what's so slippery about, is it, you know, do you feel like you were discriminated against because you were a woman?
Because they're never saying, hey, you dumb girl.
Yeah, right.
What did it look like?
Well, I'll tell you where it was. It wasn't usually for the people that I worked for, but sometimes it definitely was from the men that I hired or that worked under me. That's where it happened, if you really want to talk about it. Editors and cameras. Usually I had to hire my husband as sound. So when my husband came on set with me, he'd say, oh, these guys they're not supporting you. They're totally ready to mutiny. Like, you know, he would kind of watch.
Undermining you?
Yeah, they're undermining you. That's where I felt like it was because I was a woman leader.
Yeah.
Not because, you
got hired for the job.
Right. And so there wasn't pure discrimination. okay, I'm glad we're talking about this because now things are like coming forward.
Yeah. Let's sort it out.
Yeah, let's talk about it. You're like my
I'm your therapist, priest, rabbi.
Yeah.
Welcome.
For cameramen, editors, and sound, just the crew, or in post, yes, I felt that they had an issue. Some men had issues working for me as a woman, as a leader woman. Yes.
Did they just not want to hear your ideas, or they didn't want to do what you wanted to do? Like, how did that manifest?
Okay, here's just a very specific example. I like to have a crew meeting in the morning before we shoot.
Weird.
I don't know. I saw some famous, very successful directors do this, and I think that this is the way to do this.
Seems like a good idea.
But, rolling of the eyes, why do we have to do this? Why are we, why should we meet in the morning? I got this. There's always like a I got this kind of thing. So,
aren't we all trying to make the same show?
yeah. And you can't say, oh, it's because I was a woman. You can just say they were just had attitude problems.
Attitude.
Yeah. So you don't know. It's usually that, I say, hey, can you get this shot? And then there's not like a jump to it, like if a man would say it, I think sometimes
they hear you speak.
Yeah. It's just, there's sometimes some resistance. And I actually, after seeing myself on camera, I thought I was more of a strong woman. But I saw myself on camera, and I actually have to say I have a very feminine style. Like, I don't come off like, I don't have a more masculine, what you would say, like a naturally masculine. I'm more girly, actually. I think when I saw myself on camera. So I think
you thought you were coming across with a lot more authority than maybe you actually do.
There's a different authority. I think I have authority, but it's a very feminine style of authority. But I didn't come off as like a real tough person.
Yeah.
There's different. I had authority. I had the words. I had the strength. I had
but not a tough style.
The vision. But I wasn't tough. Yeah. I don't come off like tough.
Then after seeing yourself, did you try to adjust that?
No, because there's no way I can adjust it. It's something that's so inherent in me. I am woman and I am female.
Right. And really, why should you adjust
I know.
it?
No, it's just like I'm the leader of the story. I'm the leader of the vision of this show. So you're supposed to listen to me. So there's a lot of subordination. You could see subordination when sometimes people just didn't want to hear it from a woman. But I wonder sometimes, because I think I do. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. Like, if there's someone who's more feminine, and then there's some like women leaders who may seem a little bit tougher, and they don't seem as feminine. Maybe that's
like we've been conditioned that to take on traditionally male positions of authority, we have to act like men, so that people can hear it, because that's what we think a leader looks like.
Right. Let me just say, even if I wear a dark black leather jacket, with shoulder pads, and big boots, it does not disguise the fact that I have kind of a girly way about me.
Yeah.
And I didn't even see that until I saw myself on camera. I thought, wow. So I'm telling these guys, we need another, I need you for another 4 hours on the clock or whatever. And if there are men who have trouble with being directed by a woman, they're really going to have trouble with me, because I'm not in any way boyish. Mm-hmm. I'm not. And that's something that I discovered, and it doesn't bother me. But
it's interesting information.
Yeah, it's information to say, okay, I'm not saying that there are other women who are not feminine. It's just how do you define femininity? I just think that I'm a little bit more delicate, and I don't think, some people might not say that, but when I saw myself on camera, I thought I looked a lot more
like, I'm way girlier than I thought.
Yeah, I'm way girlier than I thought, and I think that's fantastic.
That's right.
Yeah. But the question is, what's
effective?
What's effective, and what kind of discrimination, or did I feel that way? And I did. I felt like definitely times there were camera, but I also felt that sometimes from women, like women camera operators and women sound. Sometimes they were undermining. So I can't necessarily say it's always because I am a woman in charge. But my husband, on set, it's fun to be with him, because he'll say, that person's great, but they're having a really hard time taking direction from a woman. Like, bless their heart, they're just their thing.
I love that he's sizing everyone up for you.
Oh, no,
he totally has your back.
Yeah, no, because, you're working so hard, and you don't want, why should you have to spend time saying who's going to be on my side, who's not? Why is that my job? My job is to tell the story, to get the shots, to make sure there's an arc of the characters, to pull out, any emotion that's not there, to solve problems. I do not have the time to worry if this guy over here has a trouble with the fact that I have a vagina.
Right? That's not on your list of things you should worry about.
Correct. So, it's hard to know. But I do have that secret weapon, I guess I can say, when Harry's on the set with me.
What do you make of what happened last year with women? Me Too, Time's Up, all of it.
I'm so glad you asked this question.
Okay, good. Me too.
Okay, so first of all, when the Harvey Weinstein story broke, I was obsessed. Obsessed.
Yeah.
I couldn't even do anything. But
oh my God, they said it out loud in public.
Oh my God, I could not. And I was thinking just the other day about why am I so fascinated with this story? Why do I want to know more and more? Why can't I get enough of it? And it's just really bringing back down the bad guy. And I think growing up, I felt like there was, when you get a sexual attention that you don't want, or kind of, who hasn't been lucky? Thank God I haven't been molested or anything. But I have, I've had flashers, I've had, bad dates that have got a little bit out of hand where I had to break it off, and I, that's unwanted sexual attention. It's like, for all that, it's like this character, I'm putting it all on this guy right now, and they're bringing him down, and that makes me happy, even though I have no relationship with him. But it's for all the other women who really, really were hurt by him, and all their careers were destroyed. And I don't say that lightly, because he hurt them in such a way that they didn't want to be in the industry anymore. And that is profound. Think about a little girl who always wanted to be an actress growing up, blah, blah. This is her dream. And there she meets this, evil person. And
she probably idolized.
Yeah.
It was Miramax, man.
And by the way, I have a friend who's a man who idolized him too. And he's so devastated. He's like, I'm devastated because I really looked up to him. And now he's such dirt to me. And So as the Me Too movement, and then you see all these other people coming, it's... You know what? It's weird because it's not surprising, too, that there's a lot of men who have abused their power and hurt women. And the result is that there's a lot of people standing up and brave enough to tell their stories. And their careers are being destroyed. And they should be. They shouldn't be able to just, get all this money and carry on. That's like... Don't we have any integrity and moral values in our society anymore?
Just put this in context. We just asked that question in 2018.
Yeah.
In America.
In America.
That's a tricky one right now. That's a slippery one.
There's no discussions of integrity in moral character, values.
Doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing in the right moment. Exactly. I mean, so it's interesting. I had an experience where I felt like I was being bullied at work, and it was a woman, and I reported it, and eventually the company did the right thing, and she was not on the project anymore. But it was really scary for me to step forward because I felt like I was a weak person if I reported it. I felt like, I should just go with the flow and put up with, whatever it was.
I think I've gotten rid of you.
Yeah.
Troublemaker.
But then when my boss came in and said, about this, and he said, I also feel like this has to, he goes, and I'm sorry it's a male boss, I really am sorry I didn't take care of this sooner. He goes, with the Me Too movement and everything, I should have recognized that this was going on. And tears in his eyes, it was so sweet. And I had little tears in my eyes, and I said, thank you. He just had this huge, big apology. It was very sweet.
Wow.
But I don't understand why. It just things don't seem fair right now to me. Like you have someone like Harvey Weinstein, and then you have someone like Trump, who's just, says these things about women, and just has really no respect for women. But yet he's the president, and people still think he's amazing. So I'm confused, but it's opened up my eyes that there's just a lot of different kinds of people with a lot of different values and a lot of different points of view that I definitely don't agree with. But then there's opened my eyes that there's a lot of people who have the same points of view that I do. I'm really proud of the women who were stepped forward and said things. They're tweeting about it, and they get hassled.
Oh, of course they do.
There is a young woman who just spoke out. I know her sister, and just spoke out about a horror director who abused her, and she was the actress. And all these fans of his in the horror world are,
Tearing her apart.
yeah, they're harassing her. And she has to get a lawyer and like, really? Because you're speaking your truth, you
Yeah.
know, and because you're speaking up. Now you're gonna be in trouble.
Well, the internet can be a horrible place for women.
Yeah.
There's lots of trolls. It's bad. But it feels like such an uncomfortable reckoning, and I keep hearing that word, and I think that's the right word. And it's just going to be messy and gross for a while.
I agree.
But the other side of it is hopefully going to be so different. I mean, does it feel different? Like this is a different moment in time we're having here?
Yes.
It's kind of a leading question. You feel it's different, don't you?
Well, yes. I mean, think about it. Bill Cosby.
Yeah, his before and after trial. The before trial, before Me Too, compared to
Yeah.
after Me Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I am particularly incensed about is the lawyer who said, well, the casting couch has been around for a while.
As if that's some kind of justification.
As if the casting couch is a mutual.
Usually beneficial
Yeah.
institution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the way we've always done it, so what's the problem?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when a woman says no, it means no. That's what it seems like a lot of people are really getting now. If women says no, it's no.
There's a lot of consent talk.
Yeah. What does no mean? No means no. No does not mean maybe. No doesn't mean yes, come chase me.
Well, and if you wield enormous power over her and her career, she almost doesn't have the ability to say yes,
Right.
whether she says no or not.
Right.
I can't tell you how many women I know who are, I was going to go back to this. Because so many women I know are telling me a very similar story to what you're telling me, is you get to this point in life and suddenly it is intolerable not to have meaning in what you do. And so we're all in this position of, in this transition of moving into something more meaningful. And there's a period while you're in that transition of, oh God, now what?
Right.
But you know something has to be different and something has to change.
Exactly.
But there's so many people I know going through it. I don't know if it's a normal like kind of midlife phenomenon or
Right.
if at this particular time in history we're all going through it at the same time. I don't really know what's happening. I just see it happening.
Oh, that's really good to know. It's exactly how I feel. And the more I start work on the documentary and the more I'm committing to doing my own work, the more I'm thinking, oh my, that's all there is.
Yeah.
There's all there is.
And you have to do it.
And you have to do it. I'll give a plug for an audiobook I'm listening to now, which is probably
Go ahead.
a regular book. It's called Deep Work. Deep Work by Cal Newport.
Okay.
And basically, it's about the importance of going deep into your work and what it takes to do that. For the people who accomplish things and who are able to put out and produce work. It talks about Mark Twain, Bill Gates, just great thinkers, Darwin, and it's really about getting quiet and going deep versus the shallow work and how nowadays we have so many interruptions with the iPhone and the internet and having to be available, especially on these jobs like 124 hours a day.
And it's all task.
Yeah, task oriented and why didn't you text me back? And just being available. But it's not saying you have to have a monastic life, but it is saying that, if you want to produce something, you need to hunker down and figure out how to do that. And this book gives you a lot of ideas. If anything, it's getting me motivated more and more to just realize all the stuff that I've been doing and how I've been spending my time, which is not productive towards finishing this work that I want to do. My mom, later in life, she was a therapist, and then she added on to that. She wrote a couple books, and she learned how to paint, and she wrote a lot of articles. She had a body of work when she passed away. And she really made a big change in the middle of her life where she sort of cut out a lot of stuff. And it was hard for us as her family and friends. But you can, what point is there to living unless you're going deep and you're actually going to do your life's purpose? You're going to really work. It's all about doing the work. And you can't do the work if you're like, I'm going to, all over the place. So
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it better than Cal Newport in Deep Work, but
We'll go read that. I just read an article on Facebook. Brene Brown put out an article called On Midlife. And it was, for the first half of your life, you think you have to shove down all those things that will help you be successful. And in the second part of your life, you're not going to have any success unless you face all of those things that you had shoved down. So the second part of your work is excavating all of those emotions and truths and the dark parts of yourself and all the things that you thought couldn't see the light of day for you to be successful.
Right.
I think there's some truth to that.
That's a lot of what he talks about. There's a couple other books I would read. But it's...
Oh, we always give reading lists recommendations.
Yeah.
It's like Oprah's book club.
Well, I've been really sort of going within, and it's good for me to help figure out my feelings about my dad's transition, about what parts of the story that I want to tell. And
Because how do you produce it and process it at the same time?
well, that's why it was 4.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Now I'm just kind of really digging in because I try to go to the footage, and it was really hard to watch. But I got smart enough to get an editor who we sifted through the material, a lot of the material and a lot of the story, and so now I'm really happy with this structure and the story the way it is. And but yeah, deep work. It's like you cut out the things that are shallow. The shallow work is that shallow. How important is it? Just you start to cut that out, and you just focus in and get quiet. And an important thing could be going for a walk and just thinking.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you have like a practice, like a meditative practice or a spiritual practice that helps you do that?
I do meditate and I do pray, and I am working on a better routine for myself, but I walk a lot. I love walking, and I just get a lot of ideas when I'm walking, and I like to go to be in nature. So,
And do you do it just quiet, like not listening to podcasts while you're walking?
well, you know what? Sometimes I listen to podcasts, but a lot of times I'll just say, I'm not supposed to, like, I really have a strong inner voice that says, I hope that doesn't sound crazy or something, but it just say, don't listen, just walk. Just walk.
No,
And
I get
you
that
can-
too. Like, not right now. Be quiet.
Yeah,
Okay,
And you walk and you can hear the birds, and I always feel better, inspired after taking a longer walk, and going in nature. And a lot of times my husband and I we just go to Malibu. We'll drive to a certain beach there, and we'll just sit there in our sweats where everyone's dancing around in their bikinis, but we don't even like change or anything. We don't
It's
brush
too
our hair.
California.
We don't brush our teeth. We just go, and we just sit and we watch, the ocean, and we're just be. So in this world where everything is so fast paced, I'm just working on simplicity. And I think, if you're going to make a documentary, maybe just focus on that right now. Because there's like a million other things I want to do. There's this book of essays. There's this other book. There's this stand-up routine I want to do. There's all this stuff, but I have to, I'm trying to keep it simple. And then there's also just the business of living, which is something that when you're working so hard, running a show, you're working 70 hours a week. Sometimes it's crazy, like 80 hours a week. You have no opportunity to just get quiet, and you only get to do what other people need of you versus what is important, what your soul wants you to do. And if you can, it sounds luxurious, right? But I just have a sense that the more I do this, the more it's going to actually help my career, actually. Career advancement.
For sure.
Career advances. Like, if you don't have your own body of work, like, okay, here I've been working for all these people. It's like, I'm like almost 10 years too late, I think. I've been in business for 14 years. I think it's like maybe 10 years too late that I've started this, but I'm starting now. Like,
No, I'm going to say it's the perfect time.
yeah, thank you. That's really nice.
When was America ready to see this documentary? But now.
Well, my dad didn't come out, but I had other things I wanted to tell. Yeah.
And it's hard when, like, you're an idea factory. Like, I have a million ideas a day
yeah.
that I want to just chase around. I
Yeah.
think, I need a staff who could chase all these ideas. Because it is so hard to focus.
Right.
Because you have 10 great ideas that you want to do.
You have 100 ideas, but 10 of them might be something that, or commercial, or something that can, that are doable now.
Yeah, so it's the discipline of, I'm going to finish this and then go to the next thing.
Right.
It's not easy.
And it's okay to, I think it's okay if you're working on this and then I have notes. I have notepads.
But you have to so you don't lose it.
Yeah, you don't lose your ideas. And you can start on something else if you just get tired of that. It's okay. Isaac Bashevik's singer, he had supposedly 10 typewriters going at the same time. So if you're a multitasker, but I think
just scoot down to the next typewriter.
But the thing you said is, did you ask for advice?
I was going to. I can't remember if I had asked you or not. What's your advice for people just starting out?
Don't give up. Have fun. If it feels weird and bad and mean, speak up. I've heard PAs say they're making less than minimum wage, and that's not good. They need to speak up.
Because it's so many hours.
Right. But the best advice is create your own content, obviously. Like that's, if you want to get ahead, you have to do your own projects. You have to create your own movies, your own podcasts, your own radio shows, your own books. You have to create your own content. And don't give up. Just keep doing it. Try to get a mentor. Watch great. Right now, there are so many great videos online. There's Masterclass, which I just signed up for. There's books, articles, everything. So, immerse yourself in the wisdom of these people who've gone before you. And it's really important to know the history. If you're going to get into film and TV, the history of film and TV. Know about the studio system. Know about, I don't want to hear people say, I don't know what the Dick Van Dyke Show is. I don't, that is not, know who was if you're in TV, know the history of TV. If you're in film, study cinema. Know the studio system. Study, learn all of that. And read literature. Read good literature. Read Moby Dick and these books. Like, stay with smart thing. Like, if you have the choice to read Shakespeare one night and just try to grasp it, just read a page, or read People magazine, read one page of Shakespeare. Like, get smart.
No offense, People magazine.
People magazine is fun, but really, like, that's what deep work. If you read the book Deep Work, it's like, really, like, where you shallow. Of course, there's time. We're an entertainment business, so there's time for all that kind of fun stuff.
Sometimes we do want to see what they wore to the award show.
Of course, that's what,
But save it for when you're getting your mani-pedi.
just try to do both. That's the point. Try to do both.
What did I not ask you about that I should have asked you about?
I guess my biggest lesson for me was like, if you're scared, face your fears. Face your fears and write about them, talk about them, go to therapy, do whatever you have to do to face your fears and to dig in and do deep work. Because that's my track. That's what I'm working on always.
That's a good one.
Don't ever give up. Be healthy too. This business is a business of longevity, and you have to take care of your health. People don't do that. I see it all the time. People are pounding craft service foods and drinking tons and tons of coffee. And that's fine when you're young, and they're not exercising. You have to do self-care.
It's not work till you drop dead on set.
Yeah. This is a business where people, they will just make you work until you drop. So your job is to take care of yourself, self-care. So, think of yourself like an Olympic athlete. Even if you're a writer, you're an artist. And nurture your artist soul. I mean, I think if you were to ask me anything, the thing I would tell you is that first and foremost, I think of myself as an artist. And the jobs that I've done, I've been so lucky that I can be a craftsperson in this business and tell stories, which is very artistic. But I want to get deeper into my art. And I think if you are an artist, don't ever forget your artist soul. Honor that, because you will get sick if you don't, I think.
You will get sick if you don't.
You will get sick.
You will.
You will get sick if you don't honor your artist soul. So, if it means that you have that book you want to write, the story you want to write, the movie you want to make, and don't listen to what other people say. That's probably another big lesson of mine, because I think don't worry if people like you. Don't be ready to disrupt the status quo. Make your mark and be loud and just say your truth, because then it'll be lost forever. Renounce mediocrity. Don't settle. Just try to be your best.
I like that.
I take a pledge right now to renounce mediocrity, to do my best, and protect your artist self if you are an artist. I think most people in this industry are artists, and then we're all, having to do these other jobs.
Then everyone has to get a job.
Yeah. I mean, my jobs, luckily, there is artistry, but they're more crafts and mastering a craft. Storytelling, and then when does the artistry come in, when does the emotion come in? Mm-hmm. People are craving for real stories, so come watch My Dad's Stephanie out in theaters near you soon.
I will. I'm getting a ticket.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I'd like to thank Lisa Singer Haese for sharing her story. And special thanks to Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please find us on your favorite podcast provider and leave a review. And of course on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out in letters, for added features, bios of our guests, and the merch. You can also follow us on all the social media
Okay,
platforms.
goodbye.
And also go subscribe to Exit 38 and the Kiss My Age show. Thanks for listening. See you next time.